Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell here. Early in the morning. Had trouble getting to sleep last night. I was all wound up and wanting to stay up all night. The importance that I wanted to get across is that nobody let this story die down. This needs to be on the forefront of everybody's mind each and every single second of the day. We cannot let this go. The thing with Mormons, as a culture, for those of you who don't know Mormonism who are watching this video, they love to keep a negative story silent. Silence it altogether. And so Mormons will immediately shut up and keep quiet and hope that it goes away. And that trait has been effective for the most part. But there's never been something this seriously damaging to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That we cannot allow this to be silenced and fade into the history of time. If the IRS protects the LDS Church, there will be the tendency to just let it go, and we can't let that happen. We need to continually remind Mormons, hey guys, didn't your 15 prophets betray you for hundreds of billions of pieces of silver? It's far more than what Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus for. And that's part of the symbolism, though. Judah betraying Jesus. Jesus being used as the name because of the Old Testament book, the book of Joshua. Joshua being the Hebrew of the Greek Jesus. Because Jesus technically is supposed to be called Emmanuel, as Isaiah calls him. And when you understand that the book of Joshua was purposely put after Moses failed to get the house of Israel into the promised land, and that Joshua is the Messiah who gets the house of Israel into the promised land, that the Jews are not looking for the return of Moses, but a return, or not a return, the coming of a Joshua to restore the kingdom of David in the latter days. And then, I'm sorry Christians, but that's where the book of Matthew tries to justify his story, is that he's trying to portray the character Jesus or Joshua as the last days Messiah during the time of the Roman Empire, because the Jews were hoping for freedom with their prophesied last days Messiah. And so apocalyptic literature was written during that period of time, and the Jewish fanatical groups rose up to try to free themselves from the bondage of the Roman Empire. and the Roman Empire just decimated the Jewish militant groups and resulted in the destruction of the temple. And when you understand that historical context, then you understand why Jews, again, when they miraculously get to have possession in Jerusalem in that World War II time framing and the 7 Days War, Jews again were reminded, hey, is this it? Are these the last days for which our promised Messiah will come? Because they understand now that it was not during the Roman period or any other period in time. And Christians refuse to accept that, as they accept the literal word of the New Testament as actually history, rather than how the Jews see the New Testament as just another prophecy book of their promised latter-day Messiah. Even though the Gospels are sort of mixed on the origin story versus the latter-day story, that you have to go into the Egyptians, which is the origin of all religion, as well as the origin of mankind. And so when they talk about Judah, Judas, which is Greek for the Hebrew Judah, which is phonetically the same as Utah, which blows my mind, but because Brigham Young and the Mormons had no interest in naming it the Native Indian word for top of the mountains. They wanted it to be Deseret. That was their kingdom. That was their intention. And it wasn't to restore the kingdom of David. It was just for the sake of power and glory. Which, again, Mormons need to separate Joseph Smith from Brigham Young. And they can't do that, because it means that the church they're in is a fraud and a fake and a phony and pure evil, and is the church of the devil. And they aren't willing to do that. They hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil when it comes to their church. And then you realize, wait a minute, how did the Old Testament and even the Gospels, as understood through the eyes of another apocalyptic literature, get so fulfilled in this 20th, 21st century? How did this happen? The best answer that I can come up with is that those who are evil are well aware of the scriptures as prophecy and are purposely mocking those who are believers to fulfill it, not believing that it will fully happen, and thus make a mockery of it not happening to the... It's weird. They fulfill it to demonstrate that it isn't true. I don't get it. But that's the best answer that I can come up with. Because it just blows my mind if those who are fulfilling prophecy are completely clueless. I have no answer then, because scientifically it doesn't make any sense. And so it's a weird phenomenon. But Utah betrays the last days Messiah for 30 pieces of silver, which is, for a single person back then, about 5 weeks of labor for 6 days a week. So the betrayal of the Utah prophets against Mormons is so far more damaging, far more than 5 weeks for every single baptized Mormon. I mean, the amount in charity alone is, I was doing the math, and we're 0.0001% is given to charity. That's how damaging this new information is, that the church actually has hundreds of billions of dollars. Because remember, this is tithing alone that Ensign Peak Associates were used for, just for their tithing. Their other sources of income are utilizing different investments. And the $32 billion last year that Fox 13 News' Max Roth reported on came from LLC companies, and the church put it into the stock market. And so after these 2 years now of being in the stock market, how much have they made off of that $32 billion that they put right into the stock market? How much is it worth now? So, I mean, that's just for the two stuff that we didn't know about. Then there's their business operations, which, having worked at their distribution center warehouse and also in their Beehive clothing, they were purposely not caring about losing money. And now I understand why. Because I thought, hey, you guys are losing $1 million with this crane storage unit system. I told you not to do it for the pick line. You chose not to listen to me. And now you've lost $1 million for 1 year? And now I understand why. They have no problems losing $1 million. It's nothing to them. And so when I help them save at possibly another $1 million over at Beehive, when I redesigned their warehouse so that they could transfer the workers over to the distribution center, as they were hoping for but couldn't figure out how to do, and then I figured it out for them. I mean, they used archaic systems in their operations. They refused to upgrade to the newer technologies. It's a struggle for them to do that. They're so stingy with their money, and yet at the same time, when they try something new, they don't really worry about losing $1 million here and there. It's weird. I mean, talk about financial irresponsibility. They refuse to upgrade to the newest technologies, but yet using new technologies, they're not interested in losing millions of dollars here and there. It's just bizarre. And so, but yeah, that's, I guess, the attitude of multi-hundreds of billionaires. They purposely pay as little as possible to their employees refuse to upgrade systems to provide the best services for their employees and for the customers, and so that they can make more money, but yet, aren't concerned if they lose millions here and there. Weird. So, yeah, we can't let this get away. We can't let this die off. We must keep reminding Mormons, hey, didn't your prophets betray you for hundreds of billions of pieces of silver? Because that'll just break Mormons down. If they're constantly reminded that they realize they have no Salt Lake Valley to hide in anymore, that the whole world is on them and is there in their midst, through social media, through communication that we have openly available now. Utah is no longer a place to hide. That's what the intention was. Brigham Young ran away from the United States, having murdered Joseph Smith Mormons. Willard Richards shot Joseph Smith in the back while he was mourning over the death of his brother Hiram, who was shot by John Taylor as they wrestled for my third great-grandfather's pistol. Boom, got hit right up in the jaw. And then as he was lying on the ground, and Willard then threw the dead body of Joseph out the window, he then came back and shot Hiram in the face. And that's where he, was the left side was where the bullet hole was, which caused the blood on the floor, which the church had originally labeled as Joseph's blood, but then they found out it was Hiram's, and then went, I guess we don't need to have a little case to identify this, so they took the case out and tried to clean up the blood as best as they could, but blood stains. They didn't have pre-treated wood back in those days. So, yeah. Brigham ran away and thought he could hide. But the world expanded, the United States expanded, and now Mormons can't hide anywhere. So keep reminding them. So, yeah, I thought I'd update with this video, hoping that the title will continue to impress people to come to it and to help make sure that Mormons never forget. Lest we forget. Lest we forget.